Computer. Two. I like the beard, Mr. Leo. Welcome, welcome. Namaste.
Hi, Ray. How you doing?
Namaste.
Namaste. Good to see you, Brother Jeffrey. Patty. I'm texting you. Hello, Michael. Brother Leo. Brother Leo, happy birthday.
Ray, I have to bolt for a minute. I've got a dog I've got to take care of. Then I'll come back.
Okay, we'll all be here. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome, welcome. Hey, Robin. Okay. Now I can see you better, but with the light off, maybe you don't see me as well. Actually, it's not bad. Can everyone see me like this? We got some thumbs up. I think this is nice. If I have been enlightened, just to share that for a moment. Welcome. I'm really excited to share with you tonight this third part of this trilogy of the Dharma Talks. I will open sacred space. I welcome you all, new and family, and all of you Jaguar Path students. I see some of you that have been with me for many years, some of you that I've just met. I am honored. Thank you for being here. And I see some of my family. Thank you, sweet family, for being here. I would like to open sacred space. I will be sharing from my heart what I believe and what I believe is the essence of yoga and shamanism, what I believe has been taught for centuries and has been in so many ways eluding humanity, in the sense that although we have all the strict scriptures of yoga, shamanism, and the Taoist martial arts scriptures and studies on humanity, what it is to be human, what it is to be alive, it somehow for a few centuries has eluded us. We're almost so close to enlightenment, and every now and then some enlightened teachers come by and they share, and we're all open our hearts, we open our ears, we receive. I will share what I have received. I hope it informs you. I hope it opens your heart. I hope it makes you feel more connected with yourself, more connected with God, and whatever name you want to use, and more connected with the world. Once again, let's open sacred space. I invite you to find a more comfortable position if you're not already there. And as you do, you can close your eyes and bring your attention inward. Take a deep inhale and exhale with a sigh. So inhale, inhale, inhale. Let me hear you all the way here to Costa Rica. Say, ha, ha, ha. To the winds of the south, sweet serpent, be here with us. Wrap your coils of light around us. Teach us how to shed our skin and let go of the past. Teach us to feel connected once again to Mother Earth, like you are always connected, belly to belly with her. Thank you, beloved Amaru, serpent, be here with us, awaken us. Orpichai. To the winds of the west, Otorongo, great Jaguar, be here with us, awaken us, teach us your way of softness and sensitivity that you have in your paws, knowing what is going to hold, what is going to make a sound, what's going to hold your weight, knowing every step and detail in it. Teach us the strength that you have and your decisiveness in your moving forward, that strength that you have in your cause, unbending intent and clarity. Be here, Torongo, great Jaguar. Allow your heartbeat to echo in our heartbeat so we too can begin to walk this earth, this life without fear, beautiful with our sensitivity and our power. Horpichai. To the winds of the north, sweet Colimbri hummingbird, be here with us. Bring your sweetness, teach us your perseverance, your sweetness. Remind us to bring the sweetness back into life, to bring the nectar of life back into our whole being. Be here and remind us, teach us how to go back, heal the past, so we can once and for all move forward to collect the nectar of life. Horpichai, into the winds of the east. Great condor, rise, 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 take us with you. Soar, soar high above. Teach us how to rise high above and see the greater picture of our life from there, and from there, make better informed decisions. Teach us how to have that beautiful quality of discernment, clarity, open-mindedness, open eyes, open heart. And above all, beloved condor, remind us, teach us that we're connected to the divine, to God, as you are always, flying wing to wing with the Great Spirit. Horpichai. And reaching down to Mother Earth. Santa Terra, Pachamama, Dulce Mamita, gracias por todos. Thank you, Mother Earth. Thank you for all your gifts. Thank you for holding us in one sacred space so we meet together tonight. Thank you for all your gifts. Thank you for giving us your fruits, your vegetables, your flowers. Thank you for your biggest gifts, your oceans, your mountains, your rivers, your forests. Oh, such beauty in every detail. Thank you, Mother Earth. May we awaken and all begin to return to the Earth Keeper's way. And may we be the ones that begin to move towards healing the damage we have done to you. May we awaken to begin to treat you for what you really are. Treat you like our mother. Horpichai. Intitaitai Mama Killa, Father, Son, Grandmother Moon, thank you for being here. Intitai, Father, Son, thank you for the light you send us so we can awaken, so we can see in the dark. Thank you for the flames you send us so we can burn old contracts. Mama Killa, sweet Grandmother Moon, thank you for being here and witnessing us like a grandmother. Thank you for that love, the unconditional love that you give us. Thank you for that quality of reflecting. May we have that quality and reflect on everything we do and say. May we be aligned with the feminine. May we be honoring the feminine. Horpichai. And bring your hands to your heart. Bow chin to heart and thank yourself. Dear beloved self, may I be awakened and present here to the words, to the stories, to the mythology, to the ways of this lineage. May I awaken the most primordial part of myself, the master within. May I awaken the shaman within. May we all be here together, accepting one another, in admiration of one another, in affection for one another. And if you wish to, only if you wish to, you can bow deeper to any god or goddess that you walk with, any saint or avatar that you walk with in life. And reaching across the Atlantic to my beloved family in Greece, I want to say in Greek to everyone, ευχαριστώ όλους που έχετε έρθει εδώ σήμερα. Ευχαριστώ για την παρουσία σας. Ευχαριστώ για την αγάπη σας και ευχαριστώ για την προσοχή σας. Para mí todos amigos, hermanas, hermanos en Costa Rica, en Perú, en Sudamérica. Gracias, gracias, gracias. And bowing to that God or saint or avatar, inhale and rise. Once again, thank you for being here. Today is, for those of you who may have just jumped in, is the third part of a trilogy. Usually I do one Dharma talk every month. And the trilogy took over. So third part today. I named this trilogy and basically took you guys that you were here with me in January and February through a little bit of a walkabout from the jungles down in the Amazon basin to the Sacred Valley and up in the Andes. The trilogy that seems to appear in almost every religion and every mystical way and mystical path in mysticism seems to appear also in yoga, as what we all know, mind, body, spirit, and seems to appear also in the shamanic work. And that's where I want to say where all my work started, or my trust. Can I ask you for a towel? It is only 90 degrees here today. So excuse my heat. When I arrived in Peru, one of the first people that I met was named Don Manuel Portugal Aponi. Don Manuel is a Nagual. Maybe I have to rewind a little bit and bring you all in this story. When I was 16 years old, my beloved sister gave me a book from Carlos Castaneda. And I'm scanning here to see if my beloved sister is here today, Professor Eileen Crist. And she gave me this book that talked about these sorcerers. Carlos Castaneda, thank you. Don Juan Matus. Don Juan Matus was a Nagual, and I'll say that shamans come with many names. When I read that book, and then all his books till the end of his life, till 1985, there had been a download in my soul and in my heart, a sweet, real yearning that I knew that if there's something really worthwhile doing in life, is realizing what is behind the scenes. What are the scaffoldings that hold reality around us? How does this whole thing called life work? How do I work? How does my body work, my mind, my psychology? And how do other people or life around me, and how does the interaction work? Truth of the matter is, by the time I was 21, I had read the books, but life took a hold of me. I had my first motorcycle. I was really excited. I became a photographer. I was super excited, and I kind of left all behind until it knocked on my door again in 2003. In 2003, I was diagnosed with a 4th stage cancer and was given 3 months to live. I'll fast forward, there's no drama here. It was difficult. There was a few, it was scary. But what happened to me is, like, of course, I was stopped in my tracks. I had 90 days to decide what I needed to do. And I immediately paused everything. And again, I want to fast forward so we all get to Peru together, and I want to share that part of being with my teachers. But a backstory I feel is important, or it has been to me. This was the motive that really actually got me there, and now here in front of you. So as I got that diagnosis, I sat on it, I cried on it, I meditated on it. I took a trip. I was living in Athens, Greece, my entire life until 40, until I was diagnosed. And I thought of it that it was really clear that I needed to go to the Oracle of Delphi, where all the kings and queens, the big ones would go, the politicians would go to ask the Oracle what the gods wanted, if they should go to war, if they should stay in peace, if this or that. So it was really clear that I had a big decision to make, and the Oracle could probably really enlighten me. And I did. I sat on that temple, and through my meditation, I had this insight that he who travels heals, or he who travels dies learned. Now, it's famous that the Oracle would always give 2 answers. The simple way of looking at it is that they gave 2 answers, so it will always be right. That's what they were teaching us in the Greek high school. I don't know, I see some other Greeks on here. You probably remember this from high school. But the truth is that being and having taken a dive into mysticism is clearly not the case. It's like destiny always has multiple paths. One of the things that was hurting me more than anything when I was in that moment of having received this 90 days of a sentence was that I hadn't learned, and I hadn't become a shaman, and I did not take that dive in my life. I later on that night went to my hotel, and I sat outside the balcony, and right under Delphi in northern Greece, there is this big valley, and at the bottom of the valley is the entrance of the cave of Hades. And I'm like, great choice of hotel. I can go directly and walk down to Hades, go to the underworld, and be done with this whole thing. And within that thought, a line from one of the books of Carlos Castaneda came up to my head. It just popped right up. And there's a line where Carlos Castaneda, where Don Juan is telling Carlos, when death knocks at your door, change your address. And it was one of the biggest ahas I've had in my life, because I had not thought of that sentence for a good 20 years since I had read the book. And when I read the book, I wasn't really sure what it meant. But now, having had that knock on my door, it was very, very clear to me between that and the oracle that what I needed to do is drop everything that I was and everything that I was doing and change my address so death could not find me. And I've learned so much from this and through this, and I understand so much more, because now that Ray that lived back in Athens, that Ray that drove that car, did that job, liked those things, etc., that Ray doesn't exist. I changed my address not only physically, but I changed my address into the depths of my DNA. I changed my address in how I think. I changed my address in the chemistry that runs in my body, and the thoughts that run in my body, in my actions, and what I do and who I am. Most of all, I came in alignment to what my soul's purpose was. And it was clear to me since I was 16. I thought of it only as enthusiasm of the 16-year-old, but it was really clear that when I read that book, that's the most inspiring thing. That's what I'm here for. That's what I should do. I should work with the shamans. I should offer healing. I should share with people and find out how all this works. So fast forward a year later, I was still alive, and I decided that I needed to come to the States and do one more checkup. I did collect herbs from Delphi and the surrounding area. I did acupuncture to myself. I absolutely changed my diet. I changed my lifestyle. And I started praying also, which was an absolutely new practice, and choosing different temples and churches that I would visit to pray. About a year later, I decided it would be smart of me to see and get an MRI, CAT scan, and see where everything was and what I should be doing, to be realistic and grounded about it. So I flew in 2004, a year later, more even a year later, a little more than a year later, to the States, and went to Johns Hopkins. And I'll fast forward there. This was the answer they gave me. And I'm like, what does that exactly mean? They said, we're really sorry. And I said, well, isn't there anything we could do? Then the head of the department said, what I suggest you do is that you take care of your affairs. I find that to be amazing advice. I, till today, take care of my affairs daily. There's nothing I leave behind. There's nothing I just let go of. Everything that is included in my life is taken care of daily. There's a checklist. Everything is wholesome and everything is completed. If I have something that I feel is not done, I take care of it and make sure, especially in relationship to friends, to family, to people, to always be updated with the love, the connection, the reality of the relationship. So that really pushed me one more time. And I said, no, what was really interesting that I found when the doctor said this, that the only thing I could do is take care of my affairs, and there was nothing that Johns Hopkins could do, was that it was really interesting is that I felt inside me and there was nothing I was feeling. I didn't feel panic. I didn't feel scared like the first time when I heard that. I actually checked in and believed more the fact that I did not respond, that I wasn't feeling a panic and despair. I believed that more than the words. I will say this to bring everything forward. About a week later, they called me from the hospital, from Johns Hopkins, and they offered me if I wanted to participate in the study of the National Institute of Health, as they found my case really interesting, as I was diagnosed and I never really did anything. So they were interested to see what that looks like and how things would go. So I did do one surgery instead of the 4 or 5 that were originally suggested. I, soon after that surgery in 2005, in January 2005, went to Peru. I traveled through Mexico, and then I found myself in Peru. And when I arrived in Peru, that's where I really found my teachers. That's where I really I really arrived home. It was such a feeling of having arrived back home. And one of the first people, as I mentioned earlier, that I met was, of course, Don Francisco. And I've talked about Don Francisco, and I'll talk a little more absolutely today. I'll talk about those three lineages. The first one I met was Don Manuel Portugal, who was absolutely Don Juan Matus, a modern man, quote unquote, wearing modern clothes, a person that lived in Cusco, that lives in Cusco, Peru. He lives around the world, actually, but he has a home in Cusco, Peru. And we began our relationship, and I began my apprenticeship with him the second we met. The second we met, what I loved and love still about him was that it was as if that's what we always did. There was no conversation about how we're going to do it or how this is going to look, how we're going to be doing this apprenticeship. I sat down and I started asking questions. 30 years later, I had met, 30 years, 25 years later, I had met Don Juan Matus, and I had so many questions about metaphysics, so many questions about healing, so many questions about the magic. I would not stop asking questions. And what I loved about Don Manuel is he just loved it. He didn't answer all my questions. Many times he would give me this big silence. He would nod his head. And every time he would nod his head, these things were happening in my head, and I would have the answer immediately. And I'm like, okay, I knew that. I didn't have to ask it. Many times he gave me answers that would go all through the whole night. So one of the most beautiful things that happened, and one of the big first ahas, the second that the Jaguar path essentially was born, again, actually, there was many times the Jaguar path was born. In Mexico, meeting at the Jaguar path, the temples, the Jaguar temples, rather, and doing ceremonies there. But he began to talk to me about the trilogy, and here we are, the trilogy of the Inca, what is known as the Incan trilogy. If you've gone to Peru, if you go to the Sacred Valley, there's probably no shop that doesn't have these little souvenirs, these little bronze trilogy of the serpent, the jaguar, and the condor, little statues with a serpent and a jaguar is walking on it, and on top of the jaguar is a condor with open wings. And he began to tell me that the serpent teaches us, and it was maybe if you heard me opening Sacred Space, you heard these qualities. The serpent teaches us how to shed our skin and let go of the past. It grounds us, it brings us more back to Mother Earth, as it is really well-planted, belly to belly, Mother Earth. And then he went on to tell me about the jaguar, and the jaguar teaches us no fear in this world or the next. And it teaches us how to walk, be sensitive, not in the sense of easily hurt, sensitive in understanding details and feeling through people and feeling through circumstances and situations around us, knowing what is happening, the sensitivity to the quality of energies. And at the same time, that strong, that power that the jaguars have in their claws. And it's both right there. The paw and the claws are like right there. The sensitivity and the strength. And it's something that, for me at least in the Western world, as a Western world person, there were two separate things. I believe that sensitive people and then the really strong people. And I hadn't realized this combination. It was a beautiful gift. And it teaches us above all, no fear in this world or the next. The jaguar is death. The jaguar is on the top of the food chain, and I'll talk more about him, but the jaguar, or about her, the jaguar walks over the rainbow and takes the soul from this world to the next. And then he went on and he talked to me about the condor, and there were actually condors flying there. They're always in the Sacred Valley. There's rarely a day we won't see condors flying above. And he said to me that the condor teaches us how to fly above and see the greater picture of our life, and teaches us that we are always connected to the divine, as the condor always flies wing to wing with a great spirit. And it hit me, that moment was a shift in my entire life, the shift in the birth of the Jaguar path itself. But what hit me was that I said, whoa, wait a minute. What you're really talking about is mind, body, and spirit. But wait, this is yoga. And we began this conversation. Don Manuel always surprises me. I've known him since 2006. He continues to surprise me. He always finds ways to surprise me. he practices yoga. He's one of the very few people in Peru that I met that actually have a practice, and he is a curandero, a shaman healer. So he began to explain to me, and we had this conversation about the serpent is the body. The serpent is yoga itself. When we're doing yoga, what we're doing is we're shedding our skin, we're letting go of the past. We're shedding samskaras, traumatic imprints that have been embedded in our body, in a meridian or in a gland or an internal organ, and that are informing the chemistry of our body constantly. The trauma for the yogis and the shamans alike is really clear. It's not in the mind. The mind recapitulates the story because it's triggered by the trigger itself that lives in the body. The yogis and shamans alike say, take it out of the body, the story will cease to exist. So serpent is yoga, is shedding our skin. Yoga is teaching us how to let go of those traumas. We sweat when we're in the postures. We're opening 1, 2, 3, or a set of meridians. And as the meridians are open and we're breathing much more than usual, I would hope everyone breathes here in yoga more, right? It's a big yes. Okay. As we're breathing and we're bringing so much more oxygen that's so highly flammable, we're literally burning through these imprints. We're burning, we're sweating them, we're releasing them out of our body, and the memories just disappear, essentially evaporate with. And then the Jaguar is the mind. The Jaguar is the mind. When he said no fear, sensitivity, and power, these are qualities that we want to bring and understand in our life. I'll ask you this and wave if it's true for you. Do you ever experience fear in life? Let me see a hand. Let me see hands. Let me ask another question. Do you ever feel that your thoughts are fueled by fear, motivated by fear? Yeah. And I want to say always, if our thoughts and actions and what we did were not motivated and fueled by fear, we would not be here as a species. We're informed by fear 100%, because if you take the food chain and you see that the jaguar is on the top of the food chain in the jungle, there is nothing above it. The jaguar never turns its back to see if there's someone following, and that will be just simply silly. Jaguar is death embodied. There is nothing that will eat the jaguar ever. So imagine you could be a creature, a person, a mammal, a being that has no fear, not as a thought, not as a sense or intuition, or even a mere thought somewhere far away in the back of the mind. But you live free of it. You're on top of the world. You're constantly deciding what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to say, and you just choose it because there is no fear. So Jaguar is the mind, and the yogic teachings, meditations, vipassanas, focusing on realizing the narrator, the difference between the narrator voice in our head and the shaman within our head, which is what all of yoga is focused on in Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Then if we find that, and if we really harness that, we can begin to think very differently, act differently, and really live a different life. And last was the condor, which hit me with the big aha. It's like we're always connected with the divine, flying wing to wing with a great spirit. And that is our soul. That is what is connected with the divine energy always. Our spirit, the soul that is now embodied, lives in this body for now, and then we'll leave and connect to the next body in the next lifetime. So realization after realization, aha after aha, awakening after awakening, MRI after MRI, and CAT scan after CAT scan. When I would come back after my surgery in the NIH every 3 months in the beginning as post-surgery checkups, and every 6 months, and then every year, and then every 2 years, we all witnessed, myself and the doctors there, things beginning to become smaller, things beginning to change, things beginning to disappear. I remember the amazing, my surgeon, Dr. Pinto for the National Institute of Health, he said, whatever it is that you're doing, keep on doing it. And I'm like, I'm not going to even begin to tell you what I'm doing. You might not even want to. So I let that go. And Ooh, the biggest realization is, and of course I think I went after my 17th year, no, excuse me, 15th year of I lost the years anyway. And after a lot of years, they said, we don't want to see you anymore. Just go away, go away. You have nothing to check on. You're just fine. So thank you. And I want to say to this that it is really clear to me that if I had not done my surgery in the National Institute of Health to remove my right kidney and give it with that big growth, I would not be here today. And it is absolutely 100% equally clear if I had not worked with the shamans with the work that I did, I would not be here today. It is very, very, very clear. Because this is the entirety of our life. We are body and spirit, we're matter and spirit, and some things need to be addressed on the material level, as e.g. a surgery, and many things need to be addressed on a spiritual level, as in lifestyle. What do you think? What do you eat? What do you drink? What is it that you speak about? What is it that your life really is put together? Everything that we say, everything that we see, maybe even for a moment on TV or on YouTube, whatever it is we all watch, all these things are information that inform our nervous system, our endocrine system, our whole chemistry and our whole being. So yoga, being called the discipline of freedom, is a discipline that says, I know what I'm eating, I measure what I'm eating, I measure what I drink, I measure what I see, what I hear, what I listen to, etc. And along with Chinese medicine, and of course, Chinese medicine says, or the I Ching says, the other shamanic practice, the Taoists, the shamans of China said, limitation to the limitations. Limitation to the limitation. It is important not to limit ourselves too much. And for the only reason I say this is because many times we'll do fastings or we'll do clearing of the body. Sometimes there's too many limitations. We need to clean it up a bit and maybe break out of it. So Chinese medicine says one bad thing a week. That's actually the doctors in China say one bad thing a week. And the Jaguar path medicine says 3 bad things a week. So you can have an ice cream, you can have a little gluten this week too, maybe. So one of the other realizations that I'm referring to one upon the other is that I visited 3 lineages in the trainings that I've received and the trainings that I'm offering through the Jaguar path the last 14 years that not only have unfolded, have expanded, I have deepened me and who I am, have deepened my understanding of the tools and how to use them and how to teach them. I realized that I had 3 different lineages. I had a lineage connected with a lineage of the serpent, connected with a lineage of the jaguar, and connected with a lineage of a condor. The trilogy, again, to be very clear for your learning, comes directly from the Queros, the Quero nation people, the Quero shamans, and they're called Pacos. The word they use for shaman is Paco. The Queros are considered, the Pacos are considered earth keepers, and they are the direct descendants of the Incas. When the Incas saw, when the shamans, the Pacos saw the conquistadors coming into the Sacred Valley, they didn't need to rattle too much. They said, this is trouble, we're out of here. They took this wisdom, they took this depth, this treasure, and went up to 16 and 18,000 feet where they were never found. They constructed 12 villages and lived there for 500 years. It is incredible to me that they went on a retreat for 500 years. They retreated from reality for 500 years. They kept a language intact. And there's just so much there. I won't even begin to unpack what is in the language and how we speak and what happens to our psyche, what happens to our endocrine system, what happens to clearly, our whole perception of reality. Our reality is described in our own heads by words that we have learned from the collective consciousness. They are preloaded, they are premeditated, they are designed, they are tainted, and they are held by history. And they are all that by the history of the Dark Ages and on. They are all held, tinted by the conquistadors and by the Spanish Inquisition, by what happened in Europe in the dark ages, that pursuit, that, what's the word, what's the word I'm looking for? The pursuit against the feminine, against the animals, and against magic. So the feminine, the honor for feminine disappeared in Europe and in the West. The animals took a place of being secondary. There was some kind of rumor started going around that the humans are the most favorite creation of God. I don't know who spoke to God and learned that, but if I was God, I would love monkeys or dolphins or jaguars. I would find all these amazing mammals that are so superior to humans in so many ways. But what happened with those rumors there, when magic was kicked out, when the mammals were put into that position, that it's the beast, and then we are bringing civilization. Hooray for civilization! I think that all creatures must be God's favorite creation, and I think it was in one thought that it all happened. And there's an equal beauty, but the only thing I'm saying here is important to us and in our language is that the Quechua language that the Queros protected was not influenced by industrialism, was not influenced by technology, was not influenced by the persecution that happened in the Dark Ages against the feminine, the animals, and the magic. They are the primordial, the Queros, and this lineage that I am so deeply connected with and I love and consider my life. They're absolutely connected with the feminine as the most important part of bowing to and living in respect and in reverence towards, first of all, our biggest mother, Mother Earth. Realizing that she is the matrix, the mana we call in Greek. And mana, the word matrix comes from mana, the mother. The respect and understanding for the animals. If we begin to be friends with animals, and this is something that we totally relish, and we're in total sweetness now that we live in Costa Rica, and the animals there's more animals than people where we live. That connection and the way they break down the silo of species, they come right to us and they look at us. They come to the window and look at us practice yoga. It is incredible to watch the consciousness of how they come and actually sometimes bring friends, and they sit outside the window and watch us practice yoga. And I'm sure they have their opinion about our yoga too. So when we expand our reality, like the Taoists, the shamans of China, who created all of the acupuncture and Kung Fu, Tai Chi, Qigong, have learned so much from the animals. And lastly, of course, magic. Magic is every sunrise and every sunset. Magic is every breath we take. And to have that being excluded in our life is such a pity. I look back with compassion to Ray that didn't have it 20 years ago, to that person that came to a dead end in his life. So this is what the Queros are holding, and this is what this lineage is about. These are the first feminists, ancient, before feminism even was an idea. They're the first ecologists. The Incas were renowned for their studies on permaculture, on rotating the fields, on creating biodynamic fields, on knowing and actually doing experiments on seeds, not like they're done now. Natural ways of really producing and honoring the earth and rotating and moving with the moon and the sun and the earth cycles. So I will take a dive and I will go down and start from serpent and say that my serpent teacher, I came to realize years later, was Maestro Panduro. And Maestro Panduro was a ayahuasquero. He was a medicine man of ayahuasca. I'll just say here to be clear, I don't think that everyone needs to do ayahuasca in life, or that it's the end all and the medicine for everything and the answer for everything. But it is filled with serpents. The serpent energy is in the river Madre de Dios. I went down to this place called Puerto Maldonado and took a boat and went down the river to the southeast Peru, close to the borders of Bolivia. And there with that boat, I found myself in a place where there was a tribe and there was also a lodge of sorts. And there was ayahuasquero, the ayahuasca shaman, Maestro Panduro. The serpent energy is within a great movie you want to jot down that is out there somewhere. It's called In the Embrace of the Serpent. And I see my beloved sweet wife, she's already jotting it down. So she'll include it in the email after you see this. In the Embrace of the Serpent, they're in search for ayahuasca, the Western man in search for ayahuasca. So the serpent awakens the DNA coil, awakens the movement of mitochondria, and the serpent clears out the body. The serpent is present in the river itself, of course, in the boas and the many serpents that I had the opportunity to see walking in the jungle with indigenous. And the medicine plants that I've learned is the biggest pharmaceutical agency, the biggest pharmaceutical company on the planet is the Amazon. The amount of medicine that exists there is just amazing. The gift of God is there and is everywhere. And I do believe that all the medicine we need is there. And some people, and I do want to say, I've always been a skeptic, and I encourage people being skeptics. It's actually a Greek word, and it means skeptomenos. It means the thinker. So I always encourage you to think and be a thinker. And even the Buddha said to believe, to understand what you're hearing, and only if you understand it, make it yours. And I say this because in the beginning, I had a lot of people say, yeah, sure, the Western medicine has more ways of healing us. And I really don't believe that. I believe that is really clear that people here that will go into the hospital, hopefully come out alive, but not all do. I met myself going into the jungle. I met a lot of other people going into the jungle. Most of us came out alive, not all did. The living and dying thing is not something that just was invented 50 years ago or 75 years ago, along with the technology that creates our hospitals today. I am grateful for the hospitals, but one of the biggest realizations that I've also had in my life, as I ventured to seek, to lift every stone, to find the shamans, which were in my mind then a tribe or a way of being that was almost extinct. Today, I realize all too well that it is clear that people around the world, more than 50% of the planet, of the population of the planet, still, first of all, work with shamans. It is much less than 10% of the population. I'll say maybe 20, and this is not a statistic. If you find a statistic, please send it over. But I would say there's no more than 20% of the population of the planet that has access to a hospital and a doctor, or has access to $1. So even if there's a CVS there, if you don't have $1, you can't get anything. While in the forest, sometimes we have these kids that come with us, and the children show us the medicine. They pick this and they pull out a root and they start talking about rheumatoid arthritis. They pick this branch and they break it and they show the milk that comes out of it, and they tell us about how that brings fever down. They pick these they scrape a tree and red blood, the dragon blood, comes out and it says it cures tuberculosis. And it's just, the list is endless of the medicine that is there. So the serpent was Maestro Panduro. Maestro Panduro taught me really how to shed my skin. And he did it in an express way. I'm going to say it for those of you who are here today, and for those of you who were here and the other two heard this again. When I fell down on my knees in front of Maestro Panduro saying, I'm only 40 years old and I have a 2-year-old son who will never meet his dad, and I was crying / I was wailing on my knees, Maestro Panduro looked down and he said to me, I see him right now in front of me, I just so see him. He said to me, hermanito, little brother, I don't care about my emotions. What makes you think I'm going to care about your emotions? And that was the moment that hit me, that I was like, what did not fit in my Western brain of what a compassionate person should look like, what a healer should look like, or a list of things, or what a shaman should look like. Like, I knew all these things. And that's the preconception of the language. I knew what a shaman was. I knew all these things. But no, I really didn't. And when I stood up and I was kind of like, I have to get the hell out of here. This person is not the wrong person. I shouldn't be here. By the time I wiped my tears and I was like, he reached his hand over and held my shoulder and says, brother, I see you're ready. Let's do this work. Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's roll up our sleeves. Let's shed the skin. Let's let go of these ideas, preconceptions of ways of being, the chemistry that goes with these belief systems. So I honor Maestro Panduro. I bow to him today. He is in the spirit world. In the last 3 years that I traveled there to bring my friends and my students and my annual pilgrimage, it seemed very interesting and very beautiful, and a lot of emotions to be there in these places where I died over and over again, having drunk the vine of death, the ayahuasca, and to be there without him, to know that he had passed while 15 years ago, I thought he was an immortal shaman and I was a dying, simple civilian. So he is with me and is one of the people that really, there's just direct sweetness when I heard he left, because he died at 57 and had started drinking ayahuasca when he was 16. He spent most of his life on the other side, on the spirit world side, rather than here. 300 to 330 nights a year he would be doing ceremony. Yeah, that's what I said too. A big wow to that life and honor. So serpent, and the serpent, I really, drinking this, scraped my internal organs, literally shed from the inside, literally expelled from any way possible poison and toxins out of my body, thoughts, ideas, things that were installed in my brain as impressions that I had as a kid. And as all this shed, I came out in in 2006, one of my final nights in doing ayahuasca, we were at Monkey Island in this just really nice thin slice of sand right in the middle of the river, Madre de Dios, that the river opens and then meets again. The river Madre de Dios, if anyone wanted to know where God's mother lives, that's where she is, the mother of God. So at that night, a jaguar came and ate me and spit out only healthy ray and held me to it and said, if you want to continue to live, you are obliged to this medicine and you're obliged to share everything that you've learned with everyone that you meet for the rest of your life. And I took that vow and I saw that where the jaguar came, and that was the jaguar path. And that is the path I still walk on. And that is the power animal I always walk with, amongst many, many, many others, but definitely. And not 3 years ago in one of our visits here in Costa Rica, when we were bringing our yoga teacher trainings here with Nina, we said, should we bring the jaguar path here? And Nina said, well, we need to see a sign. And the next night we saw a jaguar 20 feet in front of us, walking right in front of us. And we were both quite in awe. And here we are, the jaguar path, and we are here, we're living here now. I moved from the serpent up to the jaguar in learning how to change my mind and learning from Don Manuel as a modern person of Cusco, Peru, how to wear normal clothes and know that I can be a shaman, that I can practice, that everything around me is magic, and there's ways to be able to see through all people in all circumstances. There's always a way to influence outcomes of, may that be hospital results, and influence how work can come out, influence. We are living in this amazing interactive matrix. I thought that life was happening to me and life was around me, and that's a Western mentality. Life is not around us. Life is within us, in between us, and we are happening to life. Let me just put it to you this way. If I sit in this couch over here one day, and at the end of the day, I write to you what happened, most likely I'm going to say, well, not much. But if I go out and I go out in a boat and then I swim and then I go up to the mountain and then I go to the river, I can come back and say that a lot of things happen and I can describe it. Just on that first basis, that the more active I am, the more I realize how interactive life is. The more I engage, the more life responds. The more I look for, the more I receive. And that is one of the biggest, for me, shifts of awareness, and one of the biggest shifts of how I live now, how I interpret the world, and how I breathe in every moment. We move, and I'll say this, the Jaguar moves with her heart. The Jaguar's heartbeat allows for a beautiful big magnetic field to feel around what is happening, where the Jaguar should go or not go, where it should retreat or attack, where it should jump or where it should sleep, where it should purr or where it should growl. And that is always active. And our heart is always active. And that's what really changed my life, that I really switched that on again. I turned on my heart again, working with Don Manuel and with all these shamans, because when I went there, I thought I was going to meet the craziest, most metaphysical, out of this world energies, men and women of power that were, like Don Juan described, turning into fire and changing. And there's the wild side of all things. I've seen plenty wild, but what the essence of the magic that I discovered is that the biggest healing power that exists, the biggest shamanic power that any one of us can have, we all have, and it is the power of affection. Affection, affection, affection. It is healing. It heals cancers. It heals broken hearts. It heals ways of thinking, broken ways of thinking. It heals throughout. And actually, there's some studies that Harvard Medical did that said that there is a 99% improvement of health in cases, in similar cases, for those people that had visitors and people that cared for them. They had 99% better results than those who did not have company or someone that was there to say, hey, I love you. And that study was on people on coma. People in coma that came out were the people that was someone there with them for 3 months, for 6 months, for a year, was there witnessing and sending them and giving them affection. So use that. It's the highest shamanic tool we could use. Use it and feel into it. Use it in all the ways that you can, that are available to you and that you feel comfortable with. I'm grateful to Don Manuel Portugal, and I hope that one day, and I know one day many of you will meet him and hope to have him here in Costa Rica. The second day we met, the first morning we woke up, he said, "Buenos dias, mi espejo." Good morning, my mirror. And like some of those books, you don't really understand what they meant for a while. I didn't know what he meant until a year and a half later, where I was sitting in his house in Cusco, Peru, and he was in my house, in my buddy's house, where I lived in Athens, Greece, and lived there for 3 years. So he saw the mirroring in us, how we are both, how our life was meant to be connected, and how we mirrored each other, and we still till today. And then I rose up to Condor, where I found again Don Francisco, Don Sebastian. I see a couple of you that I know have met Don Sebastian, or a couple of you that have been with me to Peru. That's where I really felt I was marinated in affection and sweetness. Is power, overwhelming power of sweetness. Overwhelming power of sweetness. And that is truly powerful. That is true power. The powerful man is the Buddha. The powerful man is the Christ. And the commonality, the common denominator is that. Be love. Be love. Be love. Be excellent to each other. Be affectionate to each other. I am in awe, and I have such deep gratitude to Don Sebastian and Don Francisco. But Don Sebastian has stayed with me at my house in the States. We've taught at Cripaldo together. I've watched his kids grow. His son, Nicolas Pacar Flores, is a renowned shaman throughout Europe and the world right now. He's 32. He's written already a book. And Nicolas, I would watch Nicolas play as a kid, and Nicolas would sit when I was learning Quechua and when I was learning these techniques with his dad. And my son sat in a sweat lodge with Sebastian and watched and learned the word discernment when he was 9, as discernment is where we need to have our brain engaged always. It is a tool, a way of the beauty of love and the beauty of affection. Discernment. So, serpent, jaguar, and condor, we need to heal. And the whole idea of yoga, to bring this home and to close for tonight, is that we have three places we exist. We don't exist in one place. We are almost three separate entities. One is my body, and it has its functions, the way it works, the way it's designed, the way it is, and the way I treat it, the food I put in it, what I drink, what I breathe, what I do. The other is the brain. What do I teach it? What do I learn? What do I see? What are the images? What's the languages? And the third is the spirit, the true self that has arrived. And the true self comes into the body, animates the body, brings the body into life. We are in embodied spirits. And the brain kind of tries to be in between the two to give some ideas of the experience to the soul. The big trick and the big difficulty, if you've ever had difficulty in life, anyone ever had difficulty in life? Okay, is that we all kind of like, in one moment we're in the body, it's like, I'm really hungry, I'm gonna eat the bread and the gluten and the cheese and the dairy. And then later on, I'm in my mind and I'm like, oh my God, I don't believe I did that. Why did I do that? I don't have discipline. I'm not smart. I'm not good enough. That's the moment I'm in the brain. And then there's another moment that I may be sitting in meditation, I may be sitting in the sunset or a sunrise, I may be on the surfboard, and all of a sudden I am soul and all is one. There's this beautiful transcendence of understanding and feeling the light and all of life and all of oneness. There is no such thing as separateness. Yet there's these circuits. So the idea that yoga and shamanism and of course martial arts present is the practices of studying how the nervous system, the meridian system works, the practice itself on the mat to release toxins, to reconnect neural pathways in the brain, to balance out and steady the endocrine system. And in the clarity of bringing together and balance the mind so it's quiet, behind that chattering mind that never stops telling us these stories, sits this great shaman, the great I, the great self. And that self, as we all know, that voice is the all-knowing voice, is that conversation. We just tend to listen to the not all-knowing voice usually, at least that was my experience. Anyone else? Because the narrator is louder, it just makes a lot of fuss. The narrator is like a spoiled kid. I hope by having just heard this story, that gives you neural pathways and chemistry to feel your own healing and your own evolution. And even in this 59 minutes that we spent together. My taking care of my affairs every day lies in that I have a mission that I wake up to, that I go to sleep to, that I dream of, that I wake up to, that I talk about with my beloved wife, Nina, over coffee, that we sleep after tea and turmeric, and that we practice throughout the whole day. Our entire life is mission in the sense of a discipline of really living life, to live life at its best, to live life out of the ordinary and the extraordinary, above the collective consciousness, shame or guilt or fear, and come into that place of offering, helping, and being truly present and breathing deeply in every moment of the day. It is a pleasure to share my mission. It is a pleasure, it's an honor. There is no greater thing I have in my life, along with my beloved son, mother, father, beloved sister, brother-in-law, and of course, my beloved partner in life, my wife. My mission is what fuels me to stand in integrity in those intimate relationships. My mission is what fuels me and makes me stand fully present in what I do every day and how I share with you and all my students, how I stand in front of my teachers and in everyone I meet, in front of everyone I meet. So once again, if you're here, you most likely get our newsletters. Big newsletter was sent out today. Please check it out. We just sent it about an hour ago. It only took us a month to make. Don't worry about it. Just read quickly through it. And there's a lot of love in there. And there's some new great stuff that you were asking for. So check it out. Check out what's happening. I hope your heart enjoyed this today. I am grateful that you invested the time when you were here. I really appreciate your presence, your being witnesses to my sharings. Please unmute yourselves. I have a beloved friend, my beloved friend Leo. I'm going to expose you once again, Leo, who always says, I love the chaos that happens when everyone unmutes and says, Horpichai. So a wonderful language, Horpichai, thank you. So take a deep inhale.
Careful, don't hurt yourself.
Horpichai. Thank you all. And if you have any questions, anything you wish, please send us an email. Open the newsletter. Namaste. Be well. Good night, all. Thank you.
Thank you.